Hi everyone. Hi everyone. I want to welcome everyone to the Academics at Vedica webinar. I'd just like to introduce my colleagues. This is Esther. She
Hi.
handles academic affairs and student affairs, and Sandeep,
Hi.
who teaches and handles the Vedica Writing and Communication Center. As always, just a hygiene check. I'd encourage the webinar, everyone present at the webinar to use the chat feature on the right-hand side to ask all your questions. As you type them on the live chat, we'll be able to see them and we'll answer them in real time. And it's a great resource for all of you to ask your questions directly with the team and have them answered immediately. Also, just another couple of factors I just want to get out of the way before we begin our webinar. I just want to tell everyone who has either applied or is considering to apply to Vedica, there are 3 steps for application. Just a precursor to that, we've opened admissions for the 6th batch of Vedica, which will commence in August 2020. So what you have to do to apply is you have to go to our website, fill out the registration form. After you filled out the registration form, you'll receive credentials, which will be your VS ID and your password. You'll have to use that to log back in to the application portal where you can fill up your Vedica application form. Once you've completed your application form to 100% and it's been successfully screened, the admissions team will contact you. Will contact you for an interview, and it'll be either set up in person if you're in Delhi NCR, or it'll be set up through a video call if you're outside Delhi NCR. So now that that's out of the way, I'd like for all of you to participate as much as you can, and again, please use the chat feature that you have to ask any questions you have whatsoever about academics at Vedica. So I'd want to begin by talking to Esther, and so Vedica is a multidisciplinary, often called pluridisciplinary curriculum. We have tracks in management practice, learnings from the liberal arts, communications, and personal growth. As someone who's gone through an MBA itself, how do you feel that adding liberal arts, communications, and personal growth to management, how do you think it helps give context and it helps improve the education for the students?
I think that speaking from a typical B school,
Yeah.
we don't get to see the world in different lenses. We only see it from management track,
Right.
like the management lens. But if you're introduced to, for instance, say liberal arts, philosophy, then you get to link the business with philosophy. So
Right.
you get to see the world, the management in different lenses. So in liberal arts 101, which we've introduced this year, you will get to see that it's just not about management. It's also about learning to see things in different view, learning to see things in bird's eye view. So it's an important course, liberal arts. And personal growth track is will help you identify your weakness, work on your weaknesses, and make you grow as a person individually, and how to deal with group dynamics, just about conflict management, crisis management. It all helps you with that. And communications, I think Sandeep will be a better person to answer that.
Yeah. So these are the tracks which give you the lens. What brings it all together is how you present the knowledge that you have. Right? So what we do at the communication center is guide you through that process. As individuals, we don't really think of assessing how we communicate every day. Right? That's something that your literature professor may tell you a day, or maybe at your undergrad someone may have told you need to improve your grammar. But what makes you an effective communicator? How do you influence others? And what makes you a critical thinker? Those are things that we explore at the Vedica Writing and Communication Center. And we also enable you to connect all the dots, all the different dots that are being thrown at you by faculty members, by the center, and various other stakeholders.
Right. I just want to address a small question that's come up here. Ritika is asking when does the final list come out after the interview. Ritika, the admissions team will contact you after your interview is done. It's being assessed on both your application form and interview. And once a thorough evaluation is done, the admissions team will reach out to you with their decision. I'd encourage everyone, as I've mentioned before, please ask as many questions as you want. Please use the chat feature on the right-hand side of the screen. As mentioned on the title of the webinar, this is an academics at Vedica webinar. So if you want to ask any questions about the courses, about the tracks, about the comm center specifically, feel free to go ahead and do so. I'd want to address the next question to Sandeep.
Yeah.
So what I've seen in other management schools typically is, that because it's arranged semester wise, you see corporate communications or any communications course, you typically in say the first semester and then again in the next semester or in the third semester. At Vedica, you see a continual engagement of comms with the student throughout the 18 months.
Right.
So can you talk about the
Right.
differences here?
Right, of course, like as you said, a typical business school would have maybe a 10 hour, 12 hours, 20 hours module
Right,
on
right.
communication. It would
Right.
be business communication, it would be report writing, etc. We do have those things.
Hmm.
We do have those things, but it goes much beyond that. We want you to have an idiom that not only is used at the workplace, but makes you relevant today. It's contemporary, it's opinionated, it is it is out there, and you need to be aware of it. So how do we do that? We do that through a series of one-on-ones, or through a series of accredited courses, through a series of workshops and seminars and lecture series that we have planned for you. It's a whole track that's been designed just to make you relevant, just to make you aware, and just to ensure that when you graduate at the end of 18 months, when a recruiter or a CEO or leader who comes and speaks to you, they feel that this person has been trained in rhetoric and argumentation and in critical thinking.
Right, that seems very good. And I'd like to pick out on one point you mentioned there, which was the aspect of one-on-one.
Yeah.
Right. So that's something that I want to re-emphasize to everyone watching the webinar is how deep that emphasis of customization at Vedica is. And Esther can attest to this herself because the academic tracks and the student life tracks, you have so many meetings with one-on-one meetings with the scholars, as does the admissions team, the placements team, the writing center team. So that's a deep emphasis at Vedica is that we have is the amount of customization that we have in our curriculum. You see, so many institutes in India have such a large, student to faculty ratio. There's so many students, and it's very easy to feel like a number. So that's something that at Vedica we strongly, want to stay away from. So that's something that we preach is, that the team is familiar with the students, professors are familiar with the students, and that no one is feeling unrecognized or left out in that regard. Moving on to the next question, how does the curriculum work along with the examinations and projects? So Esther and Sandeep, you want to take this up?
So usually our courses are for 10 to 20 hours. And
Right.
once we complete a course, we have examination. The gap, if you finish, say, a course today, your next examination will be about 2 weeks from now. So that you have enough time to prepare yourself. And we also arrange tutorials where you require some external help.
Right.
So we do have that. And in terms of projects, most of our courses are group project, and at the end, there are times when you are not required to give written examination, but we have final project submission, like a group project. It could be individual, so you are graded based on your submission as well.
Right. And yeah,
just to
okay,
add
go
on
on.
to that, I think it's important to note that the assessment criteria at Vedica is not standard. It's not what you would call routine. It's very dynamic.
Yeah, and it also depends on faculty to faculty members. So, for instance, for macro, you might want to have the faculty might want quizzes and final exam. But for entrepreneurship, the faculty will want the scholars to submit a written project.
Yes.
So a business plan. So you will be graded based on that.
Yeah. For instance, the Vedica Writing and Communication Centers organize panel discussions.
Right.
Right. We have panel discussions happening at least 4 times a year, and these are credited assessments where students come and present upon a certain topic in panels, in monologues, in groups of 2 or more. So when you're thinking of assessments at Vedica, it's not just examinations or projects that you're doing, but varied presentations, case studies that you have to analyze, and group projects that may or may not require you to present in front of the whole class. So what this does is it gives you ability to analyze things and critically understand the discipline that you're engaged in.
Right, right. Just one more time, I would just want to mention all of the users who are watching the webinar. Please do bring in your questions on the chat, and we'll be able to address them right away. It's great if the webinar is dynamic and interactive, because both Sandeep and Esther here can address the questions immediately. And if there are questions on any admissions or any other different verticals at Vedica, you can also throw them along. They will be addressed in this webinar itself. I just want to talk about something else here. So what I've seen is in different business schools all across the country is the strict focus on management and having very rigorous days full of management education. But at Vedica, something I've seen which is very unique is that you could study, say, corporate finance in the morning, have a theater class in, say, the afternoon, and then go for communications master classes or panels in the evening. So you see the different diversity and diversity of courses that students are being exposed to and are studying here. So that diversity in terms of the learning of a student, and after the end of 18 months of such kind of courses and tracks, what do you feel? What does that bring to a student? What does that bring to their learning?
So of course, Karan, to answer this question, I would just say go look at our website and see where our alums are working.
Right.
Yeah. But to break it down a little bit for you, I can talk about the comms track and maybe Esther can fill in for liberal arts and management. Uh, a, a big part of what we are, as far as learning outcomes are concerned, is of course the macro picture of someone being able to speak in public, someone being able to think critically. But at the same time, when a student is not equipped with certain skills when they come to us, right? And we just don't throw them under the bus. That's what the one-on-ones are for. Right? These are not just faces who sit in an office and design the curriculum for you. These faces are available to you at all times for 18 months. Right? The center and this communication center engages with the program and the scholars for the whole of 18 months. We're here to talk to you. We're here to help you figure out paths which will guide you towards becoming a critical thinker, towards becoming a good and effective communicator. That goes from as basic as speaking to speaking to an audience of 100 people.
So, I mean, this question also ties in with the one that's just been asked, and perhaps Esther, you can take this question. It says that as Vedica has people from many different backgrounds, I'm assuming the courses of generic MBA, which is the generalized MBA we offer, are comparatively easier, or maybe start with the basics. Is that correct?
I mean, I won't say it's easier, but we have 13 terms. So the first few terms, say from term 1 to term 4, we are focused on the introduction phase. Like it's like we are for introduction to marketing, introduction to HR. So we started with introduction, and then plan it in such a way that you are aware, you know the concept of marketing, and then you will have digital marketing in the next few terms before the shadow, and post shadow you will have something again. So I wouldn't say it's easy as compared to the typical B school, but yeah, we do focus on I mean, there are steps that we follow as a for curriculum.
Yeah. And just to add on to that, I don't think any scholar will tell you that this is an easy curriculum to go through, because it's quite rigorous.
Right.
It has 4 different tracks. It requires different understanding of disciplines. It requires you to use different parts of your brain to solve problems. And more than anything, you need to bring all of these learnings together. To arrive at an assignment or to arrive at a presentation. So it's not just management. If you're just comparing Vedica to a typical management school, I don't think that's fair, and it's not even correct.
Right. I just want to pick out one thing that Esther said. Esther spoke about the shadow, and what she's talking about there is the Shadow a Woman Leader program that students will go approximately 11-12 months into their 18-month course. And what happens in the Shadow Woman Leader program is each student at Vedica is mapped one-on-one with a senior woman leader in any sphere, any sector of any company in their choice, and for a period of 6 weeks, which is not heard about at say any business school, even in India or in the world. For a period of 6 weeks, these students get to pursue a role of an EA to a CEO, where they accompany this leader. They go to business meetings, they go to different boardroom meetings, and they get to see strategy and the corporate world from a very top down approach rather than a down up approach. So that's something that's extremely unique about Vedica. I just wanted to let everyone know about the shadow program
And it's very different from what is called internship.
Yeah, exactly. So it's very difficult, different from something like a typical summer internship at an MBA school. So I just, if you want more information about the shadow, who our shadow mentors are, please go visit the website. It's all going to be there for you. I just want to proceed with the questions. We have some more questions coming in. I'm interested in the education sector. My long-term ambition is to start a school. Vedika being a management program, how could this help me out?
Like we said,
Right.
we have courses that will equip you to start something on your own. Like we start with financial accounting. You can draw out your capital budget. You can learn cash book, all those things which you will require to know as someone who will run education institution, or in a type of startup. So we equip you with all the skills and techniques, knowledge that you need to know in order to have something to call your own.
Right.
So I think in that way, Vedica can help you out. I mean, in all the ways, like with communication as well. Like you can, we will teach you how to pitch your idea to an investor as well. So it equip you a lot in that sense.
Yeah, and this ties in with what you just spoke about, shadow
Yeah.
woman leader, right? So we pair you with a woman leader who's at the pinnacle of her field,
Right.
right? So let's say education is the sector we are talking about right now. So of course you get that exposure, of course you get that understanding of the sector, but more importantly, it's also the faculty and the program which is going to teach you all of the things required to run a successful business or a venture.
Yeah.
Now, education being a unique sector by itself, uh, we have tie-ups with different stakeholders and players who are part of our ecosystem that could I don't know, teach you about the business elements of
Right.
like
Yeah.
Esther just talked about the finance.
Yeah.
Right. There's also strategy involved.
Yeah.
Right.
What sort of an education institute do you want to be? Do you want to just be a cookie cutter run in the mill school, or are you going to experiment with something?
Right.
That's something you could explore. If you want. And our different tracks will also expose you to different types of education that you could
Right.
venture in.
Right. I just want to add to what Sandeep is saying here, that the mentorship available, especially to address the topic of education. In our governing council, we have Meenakshi Gopinath. Meenakshi Gopinath was actually the principal of LSR. So she's successfully run Lady Shri Ram College for such a long time. Apart from that, we have Gauri Ishwaran, who was at the senior school and post-secondary senior school level. And she has successfully run Sanskriti school. So the amount of mentorship that's also available to you at Vedika through the governing council, the advisory council, the buddy mentors, your shadow mentors, that's something that's a deep emphasis at Vedika, is women mentoring women. And again, as you know, the kind of social impact that the institution has is very different from a typical MBA school. We don't want to really be a run-of-the-mill MBA school. We want to actually have the power to influence mindsets in India, where we can help women get sustained careers, not just place them, but help them get sustained careers of excellence in whatever they choose. And again, as you mentioned, education, we don't believe that management should be typically reserved for business administration. It should be for all sectors. So it could be social sector, development sector, even the creative industries. So that's something that I really want to stress on. I hope that answers your question. All right, so moving around, what are the HR opportunities at Vedica? What major companies come with HR profiles for freshers in the placement season? And also, are there PPOs in the shadow program? Perhaps you could talk about the HR in the academics. I can
Yeah,
talk
Yeah.
about
we have Debbie Saini as a professor. He is an IIM alum, and
Hmm.
he is teaching at IIM and some other renowned institution across the world. So he's an investor faculty. He also has a good I mean, he knows a lot about HR, so he is really good at that. And we also have someone who conducts like not the practice, like the what we call
You would
like
call a practitioner.
yeah. We do have someone like that. We just had it yesterday, like performance management. So in terms of HR, I think we are. I wouldn't say the best, but we do have a lot of opportunities for growth.
Yeah.
And it's HR?
Right. So, I mean, just expanding on what
Hmm.
Esther said, that whoever wants an HR opportunity can pursue an HR opportunity. Whoever wants a finance opportunity can pursue a finance opportunity. Whoever wants a strategy opportunity can pursue those as such.
Yeah.
If you're interested in HR, of course, first of all, to answer, yes, there are PPOs in our shadow program. We've had about 5 to 6 PPOs this year,
Yes.
and so many students who work with such great organizations as Western Digital or Genpact or Renew Power have been offered PPOs, and we've seen all these mentors be extremely impressed by the knowledge and the work ethic and the communication skills that these students
Yes.
display. So that's something that's there. And to address questions about placements, yes, we have profiles for freshers specifically in HR roles. We've had many companies come this placement season, including Oyo Rooms, including Renew Power, including KPMG. Even though, as you see in the papers, there's might people might be talking about an economic recession. That really hasn't slowed down Vedica's placement at all. Again, the corporate faith that Vedica was established on, it's extremely immense. Recruiters, corporate mentors, all of them are extremely happy, extremely proud, and extremely promised by what Vedica offers to value in terms of the students that are graduating from the program.
Karan, I think
Mhm.
at this point it's important to address the fact why Vedica was started.
Right.
It is not just to get people jobs, but it's so that women can stay in jobs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And HR job does not guarantee that you will stay in the HR sector if you don't hold the relevant skills. That's something that will help you assess here.
Mm.
And to add on to that, to compound your skills and to actually make it all come together, it's, of course, I'm selling my track a little bit here, but it's the communication. When when you are speaking to a human resource professional, if the professional is not able to communicate effectively to influence decisions, an HR professional will be irrelevant.
Right. Right.
So, which is why we have an academician as well as a practitioner
Right.
teaching our HR courses
Right.
at Vedica.
And that's something that Esther has mentioned right now is extremely important. You see, Vedica doesn't run from a Monday to Friday. It actually runs from a Tuesday to Saturday. And this is specifically there to accommodate for leaders in industry, from leaders from say Coca-Cola or McKinsey, to come in and teach students, practitioners of everyday business that are teaching students on these days off. And so, that's something that we believe in is a good mix of academicians and a good mix of practitioners that reach out and address our students. Moving on to the next question. I think Laboni has asked how she could get in touch with the alumni and can you visit the campus and who to coordinate with. Laboni, you can write to us at info@vedicascholars.com. We will have someone coordinate with you. And yes, most definitely, you can come to campus. You can actually come and sit in for a bit of a class. You would that would be a great opportunity, especially if you're an undergraduate student, to see what education at Vedica is like. And yes, any alumni that you'd want to get in touch with, we're completely open to you connecting, both of you connecting. If you'd want to connect with someone who has an engineering background, you could connect with them compared to connecting with someone from a literature background. Okay, so moving on with something else that I want to particularly talk about. So want to take an example of Abhilasha Akhuri, who's an alumni from the second year. And Abhilasha was a student who studied literature. She studied literature at LSR before coming to Vedica. Post her tenure at Vedica, she's now a product manager at Oyo Rooms, which is a role that any engineer or any management student would kill for. So, you don't typically see students from literature coming into management roles, or students from philosophy or zoology. It's very limited to you see batches which are full of either engineering students or management students. So how, as people from the academics track, do you think you address a cohort of mixed students from mixed backgrounds? How do you think students who say study literature or any other different courses can have a value of coming to Vedica?
Yeah, so so every year this problem is different.
Right.
Right. So the cohort composition changes every year. This year we have a good balance of things.
Right.
As far as the 3 tracks are concerned.
Right.
3 tracks, not the 4 tracks that we're giving, but the tracks that students are coming from. Right. So how do we address this? Number one is our diverse curriculum, of course, the pool of faculty that we have. We are a program who believes that a person should teach, who wants to teach, and who can inspire students. and deliver the right skills and learning outcomes. That is what we look for in our faculty members. One. But of course, when you're talking about transferable skills,
Yeah.
for that you need to have a conversation with the individual.
Right.
And that's something we excel at. That's something we pride ourselves
Yeah.
upon.
Right.
And also, if I mean, for instance, someone from literature, of course, will have a fear of numbers.
Yeah.
So to make sure that number is not it's not something you should be scared of, we started off with introduction to quant, and then started off with logical and mathematical thinking. With then, we teach them the concept,
Right.
so that they know that number is not something that we can leave out. And I mean, we are dealing with numbers every day, so we teach them and make sure that they are not scared of numbers. And for engineers, most of them said that we haven't read like long case studies. It's difficult, so we give them time to adapt to the culture, the environment, and we help them. And for that we have the communication center who help them out with how to sort of start reading, how effective reading skills.
Right.
So
I think it also has to do a little bit of with the preconception that people have of literature students not being able to solve problems, which is something we don't prescribe to.
Yeah.
Because that's not how we look at students.
Yeah.
When we look at students, we look at their potential and how much we can mold them to be professionals who will not just enter the industry but also stay there. Right?
Yeah.
So that's always been our goal. Now with Abhilasha Kuri, right? She was a unique case. She was a really good example for us to prove this point. What we had done is we had honed her critical thinking abilities, her problem solving abilities. We have Excel workshops happening every other term.
Yeah.
Then a slew of other seminars and lectures, which add to the analytical ability, and more importantly, how to look at data in a way that's consumable, that's digestible, and presentable to a meeting or a crowd.
Right. Just to kind of go through a few more questions. We really thank you for asking a lot of questions. We encourage everyone watching to ask as many questions as possible. Again, this is your forum to interact with the head of academics and the head of the writing center. So please fire away with all the questions you have related to academics. If there are any admissions queries, I just want to remind everyone you can ask them, or if there is anything specific, please send them over at info at vedicascholars.com. All right, so moving ahead with a couple of questions. Ritika is asking, I'm pursuing my master's right now. Would that affect my application in any way? No, Ritika, there's been many students who have done their masters and then come to Vedica to study their management studies. Students have even done a prior MBA and felt it wasn't enough, and that's why they've come to Vedica to get a very unique and very multidisciplinary kind of knowledge. So no, that would not affect your application in any way. What does Vedica seek in the candidates and their applications? So Vedica, of course, in your application we expect a level of honesty. We expect you to be truthful about your credentials, about what you're saying, about your references, about the CVs that you're attaching. And we, again, as I think Sandeep just mentioned, we look for potential. We don't really look for performance. So this is the reason why you'll see an absence of, number one, you'll see an absence of an application fee. And the second thing, you'll see an absence of us asking you for your GRE, CAT, or GMAT scores. Again, Vedica judges based on potential and not performance. We don't believe that one bad day in which you couldn't do well on the CAT should determine the rest of your life or the rest of your career. So Vedica's evaluation process is much more holistic. You have to fill out the application form, and in the interview, personal interview or the video call interview you have, you'll see how detailed of a conversation it is, where we ask you information from all aspects of your life. So as you know, that same culture applies to the academics as well. So that's something that you should be aware of. Moving on. Greetings. I want to have a successful career in consultancy. So how will Vedica be helpful in this regard? Right. So of course we have a lot of students coming in wanting to be consultants. We should let you know that first of all, the program was set up by consultants. Pramatraj Sinha is one of our founders, and he has been a partner at McKinsey, one of the biggest consulting firms, for over 25 years. And apart from that, there are many faculties that we get from McKinsey, Bain, BCG, teaching students strategy, teaching students finance, and even opportunities you get for placements. Also, you can get consulting opportunities in whichever sector you want. That might not be management consulting, it might be development consulting, it might be social impact consulting. So there's a vast variety of opportunities that you can explore on our website of where all students have gone, and you can see what roles they've been in. And again, if you have any more questions, you can feel free to ask again right now. Moving on, Shriti is asking, I've been shortlisted recently and look forward to joining the program. Being a fresher without any prior experience, what opportunities will I get after 18 months? Shriti, just to let you know, being a fresher compared to having some work experience does not make too much of a difference, especially when you come to placements. Recently, I've seen a student who was a fresher join Airtel Payments Bank at a salary of about 12 lakhs. So, if a company like Airtel is investing 12 lakhs in a student who, and again, a fresher student who's straight out of college, after they complete Vedica, you can see the value that Vedica adds. We recently went to Maitri College and asked the students what salary students get after, undergraduation, right? Directly after undergraduation. They mentioned it was about 3 to 4 lakhs.
Yes.
So that's something
Which
is the industry norm.
Yeah.
So after Vedica, you can see that this fresher tripled the amount of salary that they could get. So that's the value addition that Vedica has. So please don't be concerned that someone has work experience or I'm a fresher. That doesn't affect how Vedica judges you either in the academics track or whether it comes to placements or whether it comes to shadow.
Yeah, adding to that, we
Sure.
have, we have placement prep as a part of the
Right.
curriculum.
Yes.
So we prepare you, we prep you for the interview sessions, for case studies, for
Yes.
anything
Yes.
that happened during the interview. We prepared you from shadow. When you come back from the shadow program. So
Right.
it's like 4 months of preparation. So I don't think you have to worry about that.
Right, and I mean, just to summarize what Esther is saying, that the first say 10 to 12 months of the program is extremely focused on the knowledge part, the academics. Post which the student goes to the shadow. That's a 6-week experience. After you come back from shadow, the last 4 to 5 months are purely focused on career prep, on campus recruitments, on interview prep. And that's something that's a deep part of the Vedica academic track as well, is how to prepare you for these interviews, how to prepare you for these cases, and how to prepare you for these different kinds of things.
And just to add on to this, I think you would agree with me when I say that there is a trend that when an undergraduate joins work without completing a postgraduate diploma or a master's program, there is a tendency to be stagnated in the industry.
Right.
At some point, the growth is going to stall, and which is why we also have so many people with experience coming.
Yes.
With experience coming into the program because they're looking for something more. Now, as a fresher, if you're already thinking of Vedica, if you're already thinking of expanding your array of skills that will help you grow professionally and have a better career in the long run, then I think you're on the right track.
That's a good insight over there. Thanks, Sandeep. Okay, now moving on. Jyoti has asked, how can I get a scholarship at Vedica if I get selected? Jyoti, if you get selected at Vedica, you'll have to send in specific scholarship papers that the admissions team will ask for. And by selected, you will have to go through your application, you will have to go through your interview, be offered admission, and accept that offer, finally secure your seat at Vedica. Once that is done, you're eligible for the scholarship process. Then you'll be submitting your scholarship papers, which the scholarship committee will then evaluate and decide to give a scholarship. Now, talking a little bit about the Vedica scholarship, the scholarship is actually focused on 3 things. We're focused on need, merit, and diversity, which is different from the other MBA schools around there, which focus purely on merit. And what that means, a merit-based scholarship is someone who's done an Olympiad or has gotten great marks or is a sports person, as compared to their actual financial condition that they're coming from, which is the need-based scholarship angle. So the need-based scholarship angle, what does that mean is that we actually ask for your, family financial environment. We ask for your ITRs, and we evaluate. The scholarship committee evaluates on their end whether you actually require a scholarship to attend Vedica. And if you are deserving of that Vedica education and your family cannot afford to pay, Vedica will give you that scholarship. We will give you that need-based scholarship and allow you to be admitted at Vedica and pursue your education at Vedica. Thank you all for like the great questions. Please keep them rolling in. We'd really appreciate you engaging with us further. We have about say 20-25 minutes left for the webinar, so I'd encourage to all of you to get as many questions in as you can before we wind up. I just want to ask Esther this question now. Esther, you see that within the academic curriculum we have certain experiential parts of education. Like last year we had the Q1 trip, which is the question your own notion trip. This year we have the trip to Kesla and Pradhan. Do you want to speak about these trips and how students have this kind of academic experience outside the classroom?
In fact, we're doing
Yeah,
another one.
so
Right,
we will be having the Kesla trip. We're leaving on the 29th November
Nice.
evening. So at Kesla, what we usually do at Kesla is uh, Kesla trip is a part of the development practice course, which is conducted by Pradhan and NGO.
Yes.
So there Pradhan is very focused on women empowerment and self-help group. So at Kesla, we will be conducting sessions on like self-reflection. We will start off with reflection, how as a person, where we are, and then the next day we will go visit different villages around Kesla, meet the women there, and see their struggles, what they are doing, how they are coping up with everyday life, and then come back. Write a report on that. And then after a month or a week, depending on the availability of Pradhan, we conduct a session for development practice one-on-one. So it is a very unique course when you are exposed to the rural India, the very rural India. So it's a very hands-on course. You get to experience the rural India, and then learn from that. It's a learning process, two-way learning process. We learn from them, and they also learn from us by interacting. When we interact with the women there, they also learn from us. So it's like a two-way process learning.
Right. I mean, thanks for expanding on that, because as you see that management education is usually confined to classrooms, and that's something at Vedica we want to break out of. The question your own notion trip or the Kesla trip, as Esther has mentioned, is something in which we take students outside the classroom into rural India, have a very immersive experience, and be informed to situations that are currently present, the realities of India that are currently present, and how we can use the same culture of empowering women and women empowerment, especially in the millennial age, to help out. So that's something that we definitely stress on. Okay, moving on. Jyoti asks, I have recently gone through the Vedica interview. How soon can I expect to know whether I am selected or not? Jyoti, the admissions team will be reaching out to you. It should be within, say, 1 to 2 weeks. You wouldn't have to wait any longer than that. Once once your interview is conducted, it should not take a period of more than 1.5 weeks for the admissions team to get back to you with their decision. Um, what does the rolling based admission mean? Is it first come first serve? Because I have not submitted the application yet. So rolling admission means first come first serve application, right? It's not admission. So what I want to re-emphasize is here is that Vedica has a limited number of seats. So students who complete their application first will obviously have an opportunity to present their application to the admissions team first. So what we do is we screen our application, we then take you to the interview round, and then we decide whether admissions should be given or a wait list, or an offer should be made. So it's either an admit, a wait list, or a reject. So we have students who are on our wait list, we have students that we have rejected, and we have students that we have admitted. At the end of the session, which is around July 2020 of the admission cycle, we let the class know, and the class begins in August 2020. So that's something that you should know. If you want to have any more clarification on the admissions process, you can visit our website. In the admissions tab, there should be a tab called admissions procedure. I'd encourage you to read that, and all your questions should be answered. Again, if any questions persist, please email us at info@vedicascholars.com. If you want to reach out to any alumni, you can email us at info@vedicascholars.com. We will connect you with them accordingly. Right. So now I'd want to direct one more question at Sandeep.
Yeah.
Right. So Sandeep, something that we see that is quite unique to the Writing Center is many faculty coming in externally and conducting sessions on LinkedIn and interviews, and how to improve your presence, how to improve your speech,
Mm.
which is very, very, minute and very nuanced. So I want to ask your opinion on this specifically, which is something that I've seen the writing center do is have a visibility of your work, right? It's a very nuanced topic that the writing center I see does, but it allows scholars to have their work be visible through their work instead of through posting or through any other external circumstances. Do you care to comment on this?
So yeah, I think what we're talking about is feedback, right? How our scholars learn through feedback. Number one is, of course, eminent faculty members are coming in, not just in the courses that you mentioned, but we also have critical courses in uh, visual storytelling. We have elements of writing. We have um, a course on understanding language itself, which is called Fundamentals of Language. Um, and more importantly, there's us, the writing center, who also conduct workshops with the scholars. Right? So what this does is at the end of every course, a scholar gets feedback from the faculty members. That is detailed feedback on their presentation, on any other form of assessment that is done as part of the course. What that also does is it gives them an idea of what their peers think of what they're doing. Right?
Very important.
Which is absolutely important, because at the end of the day, when you're going into work, you don't have a faculty member coming in and telling your work was good. Maybe a boss or maybe a supervisor, but it's the environment that you work in, it's the culture that you work in, which dictates the direction that you should be heading towards. Right? So we try to, how should I say, get you accustomed to what a workplace environment would be like, what peer review looks like, and how to navigate this.
Right. Thanks for your answer. Just going through some more questions. Will it make much of a difference if I submit my application in the beginning of the second round instead of at the end of the first round? Laboni, that really depends on what the class size and composition of Vedica is like, and depending on the admissions team, that will make a difference to your application or not. Of course, since I mentioned the rolling applications, yes, it will make a difference if you submit your application later as compared to now. So I would encourage you to complete your application ASAP and get it in. And if it's screened, you can have the interview right away, depending on if you're located within Delhi or if you're located outside Delhi. As I mentioned, through an in-person interview or through a video call that's conducted externally. Moving on, how does one prepare for the Vedica interview? Ritika, how you prepare for the interview is how you prepare for any other interview. You should know what Vedica is, what Vedica is all about. You should know your current affairs, be familiar with what the business is, international politics, what's happening in the world today. And of course, you should know your own story and be able to convey your own passion, your own commitment to learning, your own commitment to bettering yourself.
Since I'm here, let me also
Sure.
emphasize on the importance of personal narratives and answering the question, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, yeah, that's a very important question for sure. Um, what are the number of seats that Vedica offers? So we'll be disclosing this soon, but as of now, this information is sort of classified, and again, we'll probably let you know as and when the admission cycle is nearing its end. I'd want to kind of change tracks now, and I would want to ask Esther. Esther, you also head the student life along with the academics. So, can you talk a little bit about the culture at the hostel, what the clubs are like at Vedica, what different student-led activities and committees are doing, and just give a 5 minute talk about that?
So I would say when a scholar joins Vedica, their journey starts at the orientation.
Right.
So we have about a week of orientation, and then after that, they start the academics and getting busy, getting to know the culture at Vedica, and then we have Nakshatra celebration. So it's a student-led.
That's a Diwali
event,
celebration.
Diwali celebration, yeah. So yeah, I mean the program team will be involved in terms of the money, but that's when they get to know each other. Like we will have different types of what do I say committees, decoration committee, the program committee, the procurement committee. That's when they really get to work as a team, as a batch. It's the first event that the scholars will be leading. And after that, we have things like open house with the dean and then we also have a Christmas celebration, and then we have founding day. All these things are student led, and then the student life ends at convocation. So during these 18 months, you will be acting with your batchmate, with your hostel mate, be with the seniors, be with your own batchmate. So in terms of like let's say Diwali celebration, the seniors will also be involved. So it's all the event in at Vedica is a student led except the orientation and the convocation.
Right.
So in between we have so many events that's happening, and in terms of clubs we have different clubs. So we have sustainability club, we have social club, social cause club, we have academic club, we have the current affairs club. So these are all student led, and they're all very active. So
Speaking of clubs, there was one with a really funny name.
Salt
The
Club.
Salt Club.
The Salt Club. Yeah.
Salt
So
Club.
we're in.
But they do something really interesting.
Yeah.
So they discuss about their political views, have debate around it, and it's very it's an interactive club. The Salt Club, and Sustainability Club has started collecting like plastic bottles, unused or unwanted, like those tiffin, those dabas we get when we order food. So they have connected us with an NGO. So every now and then an NGO will come and collect all the plastic waste the Vedica created. And then we also have social club that links with some NGO. I'm forgetting the name. What any food left over that they are given away to that a particular NGO, and that NGO distributes around around the hostel or some places, and they are also collecting clothes because they have recently tied up with an NGO called Gunj. So we'll be since Christmas coming up, winter is coming up, they have started collecting old clothes or blankets so that people on the street doesn't have to
Suffer from the cold.
Yeah.
That's this is great. I mean, you can see the thriving student life at Vedica, not just the academics, which are of course rigorous, but there's of course a large element of hostel culture, of student life culture, of culture of clubs and committees that you'll also experience that if you join Vedica. So it's not just all work, there is some play as well, and a lot of fun, of course. Just want to wind up with a couple of questions. Sriti asks, there are three factors based on scholarship. What is diversity-based scholarship? Sriti, that depends, which is the diversity of the class. So as we something that we pride ourselves at Vedica is how diverse the class is. This is on the basis of their age. We have no upper limit as many MBA colleges do, and we have many women who are returning to want to return to work. And Vedica acts as the perfect upskilling platform for these women who are 30, 35, even 45. And Vedica offers them a home to have excellent and unique education for them to get back into the workforce. The second thing is their educational diversity. So Vedica does not limit you if you're not from a certain course. You could be from zoology, you could be from philosophy, you could be in engineering, or you could be in commerce. All of these courses are equally valid to apply to Vedica. The third thing is the geographical diversity. We have students from the south, from the northeast, students from West India, Bombay, Pune, Nagpur, from of course from Delhi itself. So that's something that we pride ourselves on, and even the professional diversity, where students are from different work experience backgrounds. Some are from consulting background, some are from the social development background. Something you'll see a healthy mix at all of this, which obviously adds to the hostel culture. It adds to the peer learning element of Vedica, and that's something that we see is an extremely engaging point, especially for all students to discuss their life journeys amongst each other. So that's something that there is. Anisha mentions I've been recently shortlisted and I've sent in my confirmation just yesterday. Congrats. Thank you for being a student at Vedica. I would like now to reach out to the team for financial aid applications. Can I get some assistance on this? So, Anisha, you would have probably been in touch with Inara. I'd recommend you reach out to Inara for the same. She'll be able to connect you with our financial partners. We have Credence and Axis Bank as our financial partners. So we have an education product with them that Inara can forward you the details of, and you can, of course, take it up with our POCs at those institutions itself. Um, what is the minimum package that is offered at Vedica? So I would encourage you to go back and check out the last webinar that we did, which is the Careers at Vedica webinar. However, you should feel completely confident that even as a fresher, someone who would earn, say, right out of undergraduate college would earn 4 to 5 lakhs, you can feel confident that you would earn an upwards of 6 to 7 lakhs. This year, we've seen the salary be an average of, say, 10 lakhs plus, which is higher, average salary than all of the previous years we've had, even though people say there's an economic recession going on. So that's something that's not stopped Vedica. As you can see, the corporate faith that the recruiters have is something that's paramount, and that's something that stayed consistent and strong throughout the fifth batch even now. So that's something that you should not feel any sort of worry or sort of concern for. If you come to Vedica, please know that you're in safe hands, right? You will be taken care of through a one-on-one process from all the way from admissions through one-on-one process when you're dealing with your academics, with both the writing center and the other courses, all the way to one-on-one to a shadow, and then one-on-ones and placements. It's again, all the education and the experience is customized to be as personal as possible, to help you be in the sector you want, to help you be in the role you want, and to help you get the salary you want.
I think we should also address the place where a question like this would come from. It's of course a place where where your strengths have not been recognized yet, right? So that's what we want to look at here. What is the best version that you can be? So don't think of a minimum package. Think of a package that you deserve. Think of an education that you require, and and then let's talk.
Yeah, and I would also like to add a bit about the student life. We also have a counselor in campus.
Right. Yes, I think that's an important point.
Yeah, who will help you throughout your journey, and we each, we also map the scholars within the organization, within ourselves, to a buddy mentor. So those mentors will also help you throughout the 18 months. So counselor as well as the program buddy mentor will help you throughout. Will help you identify your strength, your weakness, will help you come whatever you're facing right now, your mental health problem. I wouldn't focus on that, but yeah, we do have counselor and buddy mentors to help you
navigate the space that you're in. There are many issues which pop up, and there is nothing that we're not equipped to take.
Yeah.
Right. Of course, that as Esther and Sandeep have both said, that many things pop up at Vedica, and we are all equipped to deal with anything that you might face. Just want to wind up the webinar here. I just want to ask that we'll probably be closing the next 5 to 7 minutes. So if you have any final questions that you want to ask, right now is the perfect time to ask them. I'll just go through and repeat what I said at the beginning of the webinar. Is that everyone who is in the stage of applying or has already applied or is considering applying, first of all, I'd encourage everyone to tell your parents, tell your friends, tell everyone about the Vedica program. And I just want to outline the steps here on how to apply again. So what you have to do is you have to go to the Vedica website. You have to click on the Apply Now link, fill up the registration form. Once you get the registration completed, you'll be getting a VS ID and a password. You use that VS ID and password to log back into the application portal, the link of which will be emailed to you. Once you're in the application portal, please fill out your application form, which will ask for your personal details, your family details, professional details, your education details. Of course, ask for your CV, ask for your photograph. Once you're done with this, once your form is completed to 100%, it will be screened by the admissions team. Once it's screened and you've successfully made it to the next round, we'll either conduct an interview with you in person if you're based in Delhi NCR, or we'll conduct an interview on a video call if you're outside Delhi NCR. So please stay tuned. If you, whoever has completed their applications, please stay tuned to the admissions team reaching out to you for an interview. We send you a Google Calendar invite, so please stay tuned to your calendars. Please stay tuned to your emails. Of course, please follow us on social media. We are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, and we'd love for all of you to follow us and see our day-to-day updates of what's happening in class, what's been happening recently. We recently had a session with Sister Shivani, who is this prominent spiritual figure that many thousands and thousands of people subscribe to. And she had come and had a personal conversation with the students at Vedica. So as you can see, that being at Vedica not just gives you an access to some of these people, but most importantly, gives you a network of women, senior women leaders from all spheres, from industry, from politics, from sports, from academia, all of whom are coming together under one umbrella to change mindsets in India. We want to change mindsets because we want to have more women in the workforce. Why do we need more women in the workforce? Because of the current statistics that are shown. There are 20 million Indian women that dropped out of the workforce in the last 10, 15 years. That's almost the size of Australia, right? So that's something that's severe gender disparity that exists in India, and that's something that Vedika is spearheading the problem to solve. So, please ask your friends, please ask your parents, please ask your peers, your acquaintances, inform them about Vedika, tell them that Vedika's mission is this, and that we all need to hold hands collaboratively, and support each other for us actually to tackle such a wicked problem. I had any last words, Sandeep or Esther?
Fill up the form. Yeah.
Yeah, come join us.
Great. Thank you everyone for tuning into the webinar. I really appreciate the interaction that we had today. We'll be having our next webinar in the next 2 weeks, again on a Friday at 2 p.m. We'll be having it on the different global initiatives international partnerships that Vedica has. Like we mentioned, we have a partnership with Leicester Castle Business School at De Montfort University in the UK. We'll be talking about the opportunities that the students have when they go there, or we'll have talks about the different things that are brewing at Vedica. So thank you so much for tuning into the webinar, and we hope to see you in the next one. Cheers.